ago, I saw my mother dying in front of me, and eventually she died in front of me. Of course, this was a great trauma for me, but not only for me, but my whole family, because it was something truly bad to lose someone who was important in us, especially during that time. But we never expected that we were about to go through some phases. Those phases are the phases of grieving. These phases start with denial. And in this stage, people pretend that nothing has happened. And I remember my sister pretending that everything was alright, that everything was okay, but it wasn't. And also, you, in this point, start to feel the presence of the person who have died, as my mother was doing. But I don't understand why, because she was already dead. Secondly, we have anger. In this stage, the people starts to see death as something cruel and unfair, which is a lie, because death is part of life. And also, they even start to get angry with the person who have died. All these things happened to my dad, who was always angry all the time, but he never understood why. But on a worldly, he was angry with my mother for dying, because she led us in a difficult moment. Thirdly, we have the bargaining. In this stage, people find it difficult to accept that there was nothing they could do to change things. I used to think that it was my responsibility to save her life. Of course it wasn't. And even in this point, you start to think a lot of what if questions. What if I had done this? What if I hadn't done this? There's always a solution for everything. Trust me. Because I was going through the same situation, and I was asking the same questions. What if this? What if no? Let it be. And here comes the fourth stage, which is the saddest one. In this stage, we're going to find depression. Depression is the worst stage for one reason. You think a lot about sadness, and of course longing. The longing to see that person alive again. And if these things affect you too much, in some cases, there are people who think about committing suicide, which is something horrible and sad, because to them, without this person alive, they tend to think that this life seems to have no longer a kind of meaning for them. And finally, we have the most wonderful stage, acceptance. In this stage, you finally accept the things that happened, the pain is away, and the most important thing, you let that person go. And I know this is gonna be difficult to understand, because probably you haven't had this trauma. But let me tell you something. As I said to one of my classmates, this life isn't a punishment. This life can be seen as a gift. And it was a gift to my mother. And it was difficult to understand, because it was something that needed to happen. Especially going through these phases of grieving, which were reflexive, painful, but at the same time wonderful. Because whether you believe it or not, death is part of us, it's part of this life.